Hey everybody, with the release of the new motion design tools in Unreal Engine 5.4, I've been getting quite a few questions about some of the aspects of rundown playlists, the transition logic that goes into that. And so this video is going to be an overview of that functionality. So like my last series on motion design, this first video is not so much a step-by-step tutorial, but more of an overview. We're going to tour the functionality and get a sense of everything that goes into making it work. And then we can follow this up with more detailed step-by-step tutorials. So I don't normally appear on camera for my tutorials, but I figured it makes sense to do that with this since I can actually use the opportunity to display some lower thirds. And so as I'm recording this tutorial in Unreal Engine, I'm actually putting it to use live with some Blackmagic equipment. So let's just get into the overview and I'll explain everything that's going on here. So the main window that operates our playlists or our rundowns is this rundown playlist window. And in Unreal Engine's world, this is fundamentally an asset editor, and it was custom created for the motion design playout toolset. So the assets that this edits are called motion design rundown assets. So if I go down to my content area, for example, here I've got the one that's playing right now, and there it is. It's a motion design rundown asset. If I wanted to create a brand new one of these, I could just right click here, go to motion design and choose motion design rundown, and that would create a brand new playlist. And I've named this one TL for transition logic playlist. So transition logic playlist. And so we're double clicking on that will give you this window. We call it the rundown window or the playlist window. The business end of this functionality is the pages tab here in the lower left. And this is where we select what we want to play out live into a live stream broadcast. Now there's a preview page view as well. And if we continue our tour around here, basically every single page here is a level, an Unreal Engine level that can be activated or deactivated. So at the moment, here's my layer status. I only have my first page active. It's in an LT bar, so lower thirds bar layer, and it's based on a template, and that template is right here. So the template is the actual level asset file. So TL LT bar 1, here that is as an Unreal Engine level. And if I just move this out of the way, this is what that level looks like in the viewport. It is a motion design level, and as being a motion design level, there's quite a few things that are activated here that make the rundown, the playlist work. So of course we have our design itself, and that's all the different assets or actors that are in the level. And this one's pretty simple. We just have a couple rectangles that are making the background bar and a little bit of trim, and then lower thirds text that is this title. And, one of the things that is also in here that we're probably really familiar with is a sequencer and a couple of sequences. So in motion design, these sequences are embedded into the level asset itself. So this is not a sequencer asset separate from everything else. The sequences in this motion design sequencer panel are actually saved in the level itself. And in this case, I have a sequence that's called in and a sequence that's called change. So I use the in sequence to bring the lower third bar in and out, right? So if I go to the beginning of the in and I play it, we have a little animation, and that's how that goes. And I can essentially play this in reverse to make that all go away. So I'm going to use that one sequence for my transition in and out. And there's also a change sequence, and this is designed to allow this level to change its text from one set of text to another. So if I play this right now, or I just scrub through it, how about that? We start at the beginning, everything's being displayed, and then we fade out the background bar and the text. And that allows for an opportunity for a new set of text and a new color of background bar to be then displayed. And again, we'll get into Well, how does this all work then? And that is another set of data that's stored within this level template, and that's called transition logic. So transition logic can be displayed with this button here. One of the things that is important in using transition logic, though, is make sure you click on this ellipsis and enable it. So you can create a motion design level that doesn't use transition logic, and by default, this is disabled. So if you're going to use a level as a template in your playlists and you want it to respond to, oh, I've got a new copy of this layer, or I got new graphics coming in onto my layer, I need to change over, or I need to kick myself out so the new stuff can come in. We want to make sure that we enable the transition logic. And then we also want to define what layer the level belongs to, right? So right now at the moment, in my video, I'm just using a single layer, my lower thirds bar, and that's simple. But the idea here is that this layer information will be used within the transition logic to make decisions about which animation to play, if any at all, when some other page in the rundown comes in, right? So I've got two layers configured. I've got another template called transition logic flag, TL flag. It uses a different layer. And as a result, if this were to be played in, I want to make a different decision about what animation, if any, to play for my LT bar layer. It's separate from that. So the flag is independent of that. I don't want my bar to go away when a flag is played in. So again, one of the first things we want to do if we're going to set up our templates for transition logic is enable the transition logic, and then we'll want to pick the layer. Now, the layer is using a list that is based on yet another asset. So if I go into my content browser, what I've done is created this motion design tag collection asset that stores all of my layer names. So if I wanted to create a new one of these, again, just right click in content, go to motion design, and I would choose motion design tag collection. So tags can be used to identify layers, as well as provide some other kind of tag information for transition logic to work with. Now, I'm only using layers for my tags right now, but I could have a couple different tag lists. The additional tags, let me just kind of move my transition logic list out of the way, would go into something called scene settings, right? So if I wanted to have a tag saying that this particular template is busy with something, for example, well, I could right click, I'll create a motion design tag list, and I'll just call this TL busy stat tags, right? Okay. And Control S, save that, double click to open it. And then I get this, this little list, and there's nothing in here. And I can say busy, and I can say not busy, right? And so then I can save you. And then here in my scene settings, I can say, hey, I want to add a tag, and I want to use a tag attribute, and I want to use my busy stat tags, and then I want to say that this one's busy. It's busy all the time. So these can be added and removed by the transition logic itself. So I just wanted to share that these are they're tags, but they're different ways of adding information within the layer, within the page that's being played out, so that the transition logic can make decisions about what to do. So I'm going to remove this from here, and I'll close this, and we're back to the way we started. So, wow, I've been talking about transitional logic a lot, and I haven't mentioned or shown it yet. So, again, in our layer template, we have the design itself, and then we have our sequences. And I mentioned that we have our layer that this particular template belongs to, and the tags. So what is this transition logic thing? Well, if we click this button, we'll get to see what the transition logic is. And essentially, it is a decision tree about what to do given certain statuses within our play layout, right? So when I am here in my rundown, and I hit take in, then I want to play my in sequence, and I want to play it forward, and I want to play it from the beginning, right? So essentially, let's close the transition logic here in our layer mode, and instead I can show this a little bit more with the transition logic accessed from my rundown window. So if I right click on my page, I can go ahead and open transition logic, and I can activate debugging, which will give me some information about how it's working. And then let's bring this out. All right, so there's my transition logic page with debug mode on. And so right now, what we have is the page is loaded in. You're seeing it here in front of me. It's loaded, it's in the LT bar layer. And if I hit take out, what'll happen is that layer is going to get a message that, oh, you need to go out. So it's going to look in, is there another scene in this same layer? And nope, that's not happening. So in that case, is there a different scene in this same layer, or is there nothing in this same layer? That's going to be true because there's nothing else in this layer right now. And so it'll say, oh, I'm transitioning out. And then the final decision is, well, what do I do with that transitioning out? And in this case, I'm going to play sequence. It's going to have a sequence tag of in, and I'm going to play from frame 0 to marker A. And once it waits until it stops, and then it finishes all of our work, and the finish means succeed. So we should see some indicators here when I hit this take out button. So here we go. I'll hit take out. And there we go. We played this, and my animation for playing out just happened. So let me, let's see if we can reduce this size a little bit so you can see things a little better. I'm going to put all of this so that hopefully you can see that I'm going to show myself in the foreground and the pages and the transition logic debug here. So let me play this in. I'm going to hit the take in button, and we should see that, okay, we get transition logic activated, and instead of playing the transition out, it should play the transition in, which will fade that in. So the page is selected, take in, we play our in, and now we've got that little bit of lower third showing for us. So that's the transition logic. And if I go ahead and close it here from the rundown page, I can edit it. The rundown page is a read-only version of the transition logic page, whereas if I were to open this in my level editor, then I'm able to edit this. And so if we take a closer look at this, transition out, again, it's going to look for a sequence based on the tag. And by the way, here is my sequence with its name. And in that sequence window, I have a sequence button. And here's where the tag is. And the folks at Epic have given us a really nice set of, in, out, change template tags already. So, when you create a new sequence here, you can right click and say apply a preset, and you've got in, out, and change available to you. All right, so I am going to delete that. So overall, that's what's going on here. Now, one of the things is that what if the same scene is in this layer already, right? So I can create, let's go into my playlist and create a new page from my template. So here's my lower third template. Let's go ahead and take out everything so I can edit my pages. And I'm going to drag a new from my template into pages. So that adds a new page. And I'm going to drag this after my first page. So I can renumber these if I want, but I'll just leave them as, I don't have a page 1. So let's right click here, renumber this page, make it 0001. There's already a page somewhere. Okay. In that case, just for consistency, I'll renumber this one as 0020. Ta-da, there we are. So this page, now it's a template. right? I just put this template in here. It doesn't make any sense for me to transition out of something that says introducing transition logic rundown and then transition into something that says the same thing. So here in the playlist, the nice thing is that this level is a template. And in my second page, I have access to these controllers that I can change. So I can say, this is a whole new page. And I can also change some colors. So let's say I want this to be a dark purple instead, and I say OK. And that's it. So now I've got a template where my first page that uses this template is going to say introducing transition logic. It's going to have a blue background. And my second page, same layer, same template, it's going to be purple and it's going to say different text. All right, so showing my screen again, I will start on my page 10 and take that in. And sure enough, there we go. There is our blue lower third. And then what I'm going to do is take next this time. Make sure you can see that. So the take next button should play the very next page in the list. And what's going to happen is transition logic is going to see that, wait a minute, this new page is in the same layer as the page that we've been working on. So let me just close this for a minute. And again, I want to open the debug version of this from here. So I will open the transition logic and we'll just tear that off so we can put it over here for a little bit. I just want to show you how this plays out differently. Before we were going into this area of the transition logic because there were no other scenes in the layer. What I'm expecting this time, if I say take next, is it's going to say, oh, wait a minute, there's the same scene as in this layer. So instead of playing in forward or backward, I'm going to play change. And incidentally, the way this is set up is it's going to first, if I'm transitioning out, meaning if it's this blue layer, I want to play my sequence that is tagged as change. And what I want to do is make sure that I'm playing forward, and it should be playing from essentially from the start to the marker A, and then that'll be done, and it's playing forward. If it's the copy that's playing in, meaning the second page, well, in that case, it's going to wait for the other stuff to finish first, and then it's going to play the new sequence for change. Looks like I can't expand this because it's read-only, but basically this one is set up to start at marker A. So if we look at our change animation, the transition out is going to start at the beginning, and then it's going to stop at marker A, and then the change in here is going to wait for that to finish, and then my new page 20 is going to start at marker A and play out. And that's where it fade in. So that's the logic that should take place. Let's see if this works. Take. And there we go. So that's exactly what happened. Oh, I didn't have debug on. So let me click back on my first page, and I will activate my debug, and I will take my first page in. So we should get that same transition, except we're just going back a page. And so you could see how that was all playing out. And I will take it next, which should move me to the purple page. And there we go. So those are the core pieces that go into rundown, play out. The one thing I think that I maybe overlooked here is, wait a minute, how did this happen? How did we get these page details with these controllers that allow us to change different values, given that this is a template level, and I've got two different copies of that same level, but they have different colors and then different text. So in the motion design toolset, that is what we call remote control. So you would use this button, remote control, to open it up. And I'll just bring this in. And so here are the remote control properties for my LT bar level. So how do we get these parameters in here? Well, as long as remote control window is open and I go ahead and edit, let me just move the playlist out of the way for a moment. Let's say I select this background rectangle here. I can go into the details, and you see this little icon here. This is a side view of a game controller, right? You can imagine this as maybe like, for those of you that are, remember Atari, it's like the side view of an Atari game controller. This will expose a property to remote control. So If I want this color, for example, well, this color is being operated by Material Design. So if I go in and edit Material Design, I can select this, and then let me expand this a little bit. I can add these individual properties. So clicking this and changing it from hollow to solid is what puts a property into here. So for example, if I were to select my text, you'll see that I've activated the controller for the text value, and that puts it into a property. And so just as an example, let's just say that I want to add an additional little bit of text to this. So I will go into my motion design mode. I'll go to actors, and I will click on the text actor twice. So this new text actor is in the middle of my scene. I think this is it right here, right? Okay. So I want this to have remote control ability or a customization available for the text as well as the color. So here is the text value, and I'll click remote control, and there it is. And the color, right? So I'll scroll down, and here's the color, and I'll activate that as well. And then I can go ahead and give names to this. And what I want to do is now expose those properties to remote control so that I can feed data into them, right? So I'm going to add two controllers. I'm going to add a string, and I'm going to add a color, and I'll give them IDs. So this will be T002 for text 2, and this will be C003 for color 3. And then I can just drag my text onto there and drag my color onto there. And by this click and drag, what I've done is set up a bind to bind this controller to that property. And so now there's nothing in here. So I could say, hello world. And now that text is there, and our color, we also want to set that to a color that we like. And there we go. And so now these would be available once I've saved all of this in the rundown playlist page so that I could customize these as well. There's a lot more in the abilities for remote control. So there's a variety of behaviors. So the control can be any of a variety of variable types. So even textures and materials and meshes. So, you know, if you wanted to have a rotating mesh, for example, of, you know, a Rocket League car or some 3D character or something like that, you could actually have the remote control allow that to be edited on a per page basis, change the colors and things like that. And then for any given control, we can also change behaviors, right? So bind is what I'm using now, meaning whatever value I put in here ultimately gets applied to the property. But I could also do a conditional. So I could have a numerical set 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and each one of those is a color theme and logo theme or something like that, or even have it be codes, you know, abbreviations for team names and such. So there's a variety of these things, and again, we can get into all of this in later tutorials because it's just too much, and we're already been recording for about 20 minutes. So, okay, I am going to go ahead and delete all of this stuff that I added. So let's delete, and yeah, I do want to get rid of it, and delete, and yeah, I do want to get rid of it, and let's get rid of these, delete, and okay, so that's all gone, and this delete, that's all gone. So the last thing I think that might be worth sharing here, so we went over really the core of what's inside a level to be used as a template. So we of course have what we see. We have our sequences. Our sequences have names and they have tags. We have transition logic, which needs to be activated, and ideally we assign a layer to that. And then we also have the remote control window that allows us to have different pages with different values in the playlist, even though we're using the same template. The last little bit to note is that each template can have its own layer, right? So right now with these two pages, they're both in the same layer, right? So if we take a look right now, okay, I've got the purple Page 20 is playing right now. If I go to page 10 and I take that in, it's going to do a changeover to back to page 10, and that displays. That's because they're both on the same layer. But if I'd like to, I can have a different template on a different layer. That can be transitioned in, and it won't interfere with our existing layers. So I've configured this top flag level to raise a little flag, and that actually falls in my X space here, front to back. It's designed to come in between the foreground bar and the background highlights. So if I play that flag in, then we get a little flag over here, right? And so this is on its own layer, so we can see both of these pages are loaded at the same time. So if I take next, and that is yet again a flag, then it's going to change over. That flag goes down and a new flag comes up. So that's how the decision logic, the transition logic is set up on this other level that's a template on the same layer. So we can have any number of templates that occupy the same layer, and they'll all change over between each other depending on how you set up your transition logic. I could play next once again, I think, and I have a different flag. That's awesome. All right, very cool. And then the final thing that I just figured I'd share is that, I've been using all of these basic motion graphics themselves, like assets here. So it's mostly the Motion Design 2D assets. But again, we have full access to everything Unreal Engine can do. So just for fun, I actually brought in a character into the flag layer. And so when we play the flag in, it does a traditional slide in. When we do a change, we slide in and out, and that's all fine. But in the take out, right? So I'm going to take out the flag. I'm actually going to bring in a 3D character to do the take out for me. Hey, Crunch. Yeah. Off you go. All right, and so that's a full 3D character. I just used the Paragon Crunch character that's free on the marketplace, and all the animations came with that, and just edited them into my out sequence so that would work. So again, I can any one of these flags, by the way, they're all the same template level, right? So if I take in this flag, it'll come in. And if I tell it to take out, it'll play the out animation instead of the change. And they all have Crunch. And so Crunch actually spawns on the out animation, does his little thing, and goes away. So that's kind of all there is, right? So I have one more little page here for my lower third. And one more thing. I'm wrong. Let me bring us back to our introducing transition logic. How is this all playing out in this little video, right? It's all live, and that is set up in the broadcast tab. So you can open the broadcast panel in the playlist playlist or rundown page. You can hit this button to open it up. And this is what my broadcast window looks like. Basically here we can define any number of channels, and each channel is essentially an output. Those outputs can be assigned to physical outputs on the computer. So here are my output devices, and that includes my, I have my A6000 running here. It's got two monitors set up. One of those is actually the background of the Ultimat, and the other one is my screen in front of me. We also can access our Blackmagic and AJA equipment. So I have a DeckLink Duo in here. And like a previous tutorial, if I do, I'm going to open up my Blackmagic setup so I can show what is going on with my screen here. Okay, so I have a DeckLink Duo, and the way I have this configured right now in terms of connectors, DeckLink Duo 1 uses both SDI 1 and SDI 2. There's 4 SDI connectors on this particular board. There's 4 connectors plus a Genlock sync input. And so I've got essentially this is set up as 2 different DeckLinks, DeckLink Duo 1 and 2. And Duo 1 is using SDIs 1 and 2, and Duo 2 is using SDIs 3 and 4. And what that means is in my configuration here of my broadcast, I've got a channel set up. And what I've done is, I'm playing it out so I can't see it. But essentially what's happening here is my output is set to fill and key. And that lets me output both the alpha channel and the RGB from the one DeckLink Duo. It's 2 SDI outputs. And so that is playing into my ATEM Mini on my desk. It's an ATEM Mini SDI. And so if I bring in that software here, what we should be able to see here is Cam2 is the input from my Ultimat. So that's me and the background. But the downstream key is getting its fill source RGB from input 4, and the key source, the alpha channel, is Cam3 input 3. So these are coming in from that DeckLink Duo, and the key then is coming in my input 3. So if I deactivate this, the lower third goes away. I can show you cams 3 and 4. And in theory, we've been having the alpha channel here, but it looks like the alphas, I can't tell if that's in there. Just I have a really small view of this video, but it was looking like, oh, it's semi-transparent. So I've run into this a couple times. You know, again, this is experimental. What I found to fix that is like just stop all the channels and start all the channels, and that should make our stuff work again. So let's deactivate the DSK. Yeah, there we go. There's my alpha channel from input 3, and there's my RGB. And if I bring back my Ultimat and switch on, there we go. All right, so sorry about the semi-transparency. I should have probably double-checked that before starting to record, but there we are. Okay, now I think I've covered it all. We're about a half an hour in. I think that's the overall tour. I will be working on more detailed step-by-step tutorials on creating each of these things, but please feel free to use the comments for this video to ask questions, and I will certainly prioritize tutorials about questions that I get in these comments. So I do hope this helps, and looking forward to sharing some more tutorials on this. Until next time, have fun.